Shalom, shalom. This is your brother Yahya Bandele welcoming you to part 2 of the children of the fallen ones. It is certainly a pleasure and a privilege for me to come and to share the word of Yahweh with you. I feel honored that you have seen fit to watch this video. It is a controversial video because it's going to deal with issues and circumstances and it's going to make us rethink what we've been taught for all these many years. And so, Yahweh willing, as we go through this lesson, as we go through this video presentation, that look at it critically. Make sure that what we're saying is in the scriptures. We're going to go through a lot of history, a lot of archaeological information, and really challenge you in rethinking or helping to reshape your thought process of how we got to this place and why the world has so many issues and so many problems surrounding a people who have the ability, the fierceness to rule the world. They rule it with an iron hand. But we need to find out and explore at what cost have they received this power. So let's go into the study.
In Greek mythology, the Caucasus Mountains is where the gods, the fallen angels, are buried. The term Caucasian originated as one of the racial categories recognized by 19th century craniology and is derived from the region of the Caucasus Mountains. The concept of a Caucasian race, or Varietas Caucasia, was first proposed under those names by the German scientist and classical anthropologist Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, 1752-1840. His studies based the classification of the Caucasian race primarily on skull features, which Blumenbach claimed were optimized by the Caucasian peoples. Time magazine did an article back in the 1990s based on the findings of a fossil that they claim gave the explanation of how man began. They conclude that the Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnon man, the men that come from the caves of the mountains, were once like animals. They had fur all over their bodies. They lived in darkness under the caves because their skin was unable to absorb the heat of the sun. One of the fossil discoveries above all that has transformed the views of so many came with the discovery of a fossil called Lucy, and why this fossil is so important to human evolution. Lucy was discovered in 1974 by anthropologist Professor Donald Johanson and his student Tom Gray in a maze of ravines at Hadar in northern Ethiopia. Johanson and Gray were out searching the scorched terrain for animal bones in the sand, ash and soot, when they spotted a tiny fragment of arm bone. Thus, the evidence pointing to the creation and the inception of men from caves, this discovery gave evidence that the mother of the Caucasian race was an African from northern Ethiopia, thus bringing more clarity to what Enoch spoke about and what Moses spoke about in the book of Genesis, that the sons of God, the sons of Yahweh, came unto the daughters of men and slept with them and bore them a new creation that was outside of the original lump of clay. Thus, we look at the origin of the Anglo-Saxon birth, because the Anglo-Saxons were the offspring of the fallen. We say this because the very inception of the name Anglo is derived from the term angels. This is what many believed that they were. In Greek mythology, in Roman mythology, in Nordic mythology, in Anglo-Saxon mythology, they taught that they were the offspring of the gods and of women. They believed that they came from a union of angels and the daughters of men. When we look at the origin and religion of the Anglo-Saxons, we see in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 64th verse, it reads as follows: "And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." One of the things that we discover in the Anglo-Saxon mythology is that the Anglo-Saxon mythology refers to the migration period of Germanic paganism practiced by the English peoples in the 5th to 7th century in England. We even witness today the modern 20th century Wiccans draw their religious ideology from the Mother Earth cults of the Celtic and Nordic peoples of pre-Christian Europe. The word Wiccan first appears in an early manuscript of an Anglo-Saxon scribe in the alliterative phrase Wiccan and the Valerian witches and Valkyries. The word in Old English has masculine and feminine endings and denotes both men and women using magic arts. The word victim in English has the same derivation as Wicca and originally meant a living human being set apart to be sacrificed to a deity. When we think of fairy tales and bedtime stories, we're reminded of Hansel and Gretel. We can remember in that story that these two children, brother and sister, were kept by an old woman in a house. And in this house, she fed these children. And she made sure that they were getting heavier and heavier, fatter and fatter by the day. Hansel and Gretel had no clue what they were doing initially. But as the end of the story comes about, we see that what this woman was doing, she was setting them up to be a living human being sacrifice. They were set apart to be sacrificed to the fallen ones. This is a common educational storytale that's told within the Anglo-Saxon society, within the Greek and Roman and societies, because we realize that in the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, and all the industrialized nations, they spend billions of dollars within their educational system teaching Greek, Roman, Germanic, Norse, Viking, Celtic, and Anglo-Saxon mythology. Even in the non-industrialized nations that receive government funding, mythology is taught to the children of those nations as well, by aid workers and missionaries alike. This is why Hollywood has promoted the origin of the Gentiles' faith of mythology by creating, producing, investing billions of dollars into movies such as Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Pan's Labyrinth, and Beowulf, to name a few. They've also created childhood storytales such as Jack and Jill, Jack and the Beanstalk, Gulliver's Island, and other fairy tales that we thought were just fairy tales and never held them to be a religious truth by a people who run the world. Even when we look at Harry Potter, and we wonder how Hollywood got its name, And we realize when we look at the wand that's in Harry Potter's hand, we know that that wand is made out of holly branches, out of the holly bush. And this is why the magic wand was made out of the holly bush. And so this is why Hollywood is called that name, because it is a place of magic. It makes things that are not true, true. And it brings forth an image that is not real, but false.